My cousin Gastron once asked me what my least favourite part of my time in the service was during the Time War. You probably expect me to say something really profound, right? The horror of it all. Seeing good people die. Maybe you even expect me to pick something like, "Oh, I missed the orange sky," or "I missed the streets of the Citadel." Nah. I hated the mornings. Alright, get up! The morning the Doctor came to Danrok's Rift was the same as any other dull, stinking morning on that dull, stinking planet. Early mornings were never my strong suit at the Academy. This didn't change much when I was conscripted. I always said my first regeneration would be into a morning person. I didn't care what I looked like or how tall I was, but Rassilon willing, I'd be a morning person. But no such luck. Right out of the Academy, I get called up to the army to serve. Apparently my grades weren't sufficient to get me a post doing TARDIS pilot work or something, so into the infantry I went. You'll find this a lot with the folks who fought in the war. You might have fought at Skull Moon or Rodan's wedding, but no one will ever say that they hated the sight of blue Dalek disruptor fire cutting across the green skies, or the smell of burnt robes and charred skin. Most of the troops I worked with said they hated the helmets, or the fact that the connection thing made water taste like copper, or the fact that the uniforms never fit no matter how much you messed with the clothing recombiner. It was always the little things. The things that built up into one unbearable mess. At Danrok's Rift you can add the smell. It wasn't strong, but there was something there that always made the water taste like blood and the food taste like someone sprayed it in plastic. And breathing was weird for the first 2 days until your nose sort of got used to it. I hated Danrok's Rift. But it didn't matter that we hated it. We had to lump it. I still remember the day we were dumped on that rock, in a dinky little FOB in front of a big door we weren't allowed to open with a big seal of Rassilon on it. We didn't even know the planet's actual name. Danrok's Rift was the name of whatever was behind the door. That door and the seal emblazoned above it was the only sign that we were meant to give a damn about that planet, or whoever the pencil-necked 4th regeneration science lab jockey behind that door was. The day we were dumped there was 5 months, relative time, before the Doctor came. And the day the Doctor came was just like any other. Same smell, same base, same stuff, different day. Not that we knew the Doctor was coming. That morning, as we gathered in front of the door and in front of Sergeant Tanso, all we were told was that a very important person was being sent by the High Council. I remember Polred asking, "So who's the VIP, Sarge?" And Tanso answered, "No idea, Pol, and it isn't my job to care. They show up, we show them the full honours." That caused a laugh. Full honours was a holdover from the old Chancellery Guard, where you did a whole song and dance when a dignitary arrived. None of us had ever done the full salute except to practice it in basic. None of us particularly wanted to do it in the field now, tell you the truth. I've met the sort of high-ups that get full honours, and most of them are neither use nor ornament, as my old nanny used to say when I was a time top. "What are they doing here, Sarge?" someone else asked after we'd all finished laughing. "Something to do with whatever's in there," Tanso told us, jabbing a thumb at the big door with a look on his face like someone had spilt drylander moonshine under his nose. "They didn't tell me, and I didn't ask." "Some high-collar Resby who's never seen the business end of a Staser rifle, I bet," my mate Ari muttered. Ari was one of those who'd already regenerated a couple of times when she joined up. She always talked about hating the experience of having to try all your old favourite things to make sure you still liked them. But she was a true believer. Truest they got. He wasn't a Resby, as it would turn out. Oh, don't get me wrong, he wasn't very impressive. He dressed like a drylander, all waistcoat and dirty shirt, a bandolier strapped across his chest and a battered leather coat over the whole thing. His face was worn, harsh. Short brown hair streaked in grey, spiked up lazily. He didn't introduce himself, only nodded briefly to us before asking to see the scientists. Whatever they discussed, he came back with a sour expression on his face.
They won't be ready when they're meant to be,
I caught him saying to Tanser.
I was meant to come here, collect the device, and leave.
We'll try to make you comfortable in the meantime, sir, Tanser replied. There was something in his tone, something almost deferential, a tone Tanser almost never took, except when a superior officer he actually liked showed up, and in all the time I'd known him, that had barely ever happened. Who was this Resby? The newcomer laughed.
Comfortable. There's a word I don't rate highly anymore.
Spoken like a man who's seen a lot.
More than I care to think about, Sergeant.
There was something about the way he said that, something about the weary rasp of his voice that sat ill. But I overheard no more of the conversation, and soon the newcomer was headed to a bunk. Tanso knew about our guest, he didn't tell us. But if you've ever been around soldiers, especially soldiers knee-deep in the most boring assignment you've ever seen, you'd know they're terrible gossips. I've met Shobogan nursemaids who gossip less than my platoon. He's CIA, someone said. He can't be CIA, Eri snapped. CIA wouldn't send one agent, and if it was that important, they'd have it in the capital, not on this rock guarded by a single platoon. This was true, and we all knew it.
Maybe,
Polred began. His expression was thoughtful, unusually so for Pol.
Maybe he's a renegade.
That shut us all right up. A renegade? What would a renegade be doing out here?
Excuse me.
A voice cut in. We all turned, and there he was. The coat was off, revealing battered shirt sleeves and waistcoat. He was looking at us all with the sort of mild curiosity that a child has when faced with a particularly interesting person and hasn't the tact to just sod off and leave them alone. Can we help you, sir? Eri asked. Like I said, true believer.
I was searching for the lavatory,
the man said.
I brought my TARDIS, but she's an eccentric older model, and the lavatory is hidden through a rather labyrinthine route.
You said it was an older model, sir? Eri asked. I heard the old Type 50s had quirks.
I wouldn't know.
There was something almost like amusement in the man's voice.
Mine's a Type 40. I'm afraid she's quite the antique.
A Type 40? Eri repeated. How did you... For those of us who aren't tech heads, Polred interrupted, the latrines aren't working properly, sir. This was a common occurrence. Gallifreyan military-issue latrines were effectively portable public toilets. They were also awful. I'd heard more than one soldier joke that if it was a toss-up between facing the Daleks and facing one of those, they'd take the Daleks any day. Daleks, at least, didn't kill you with the stink of 30 burly drylanders using a clogged-up lavatory after 3 weeks of what were laughingly called high-end rations.
I see,
the man said thoughtfully. He scratched his stubbly chin, then nodded.
Give me a few moments.
We've already had the techs look at it, Resby, Polred said sourly. They can't fix it. The man simply smiled.
I fix decidedly worse things than faulty lavatories, young man. Leave it with me.
He walked off, and the rest of us went back to muttering amongst ourselves. Eri had a look on her face I'll never forget. A look like she'd seen a slider walking about. What? I asked her, but she shook her head, and soon we forgot all about it. An hour passed before we saw the stranger again. He had his shirt sleeves rolled up, and a little grease on his forearm and face, but he looked pleased with himself.
Well,
he said,
I have fixed the lavatory.
There was silence for a moment. We all looked amongst each other, wondering what the hell he meant. He'd fixed it. Even Polred was silent, and that was Polred for others' sake. You... What? I finally found my voice. Sir, that...
As I told your comrade, I have fixed decidedly worse things than faulty lavatories.
He was grinning at me.
And I may not be a soldier myself, but I am familiar enough with the needs of soldiers in the field to know that a working latrine is worth its weight in gold.
Polred gaped like a fish. Eri's expression was unreadable. Well, I said, feeling the strangest sensation. It took me a minute to recognize being amused. There was a lot that I found funny, but not like this. Thank you, sir. Something occurred to me. Didn't catch your name.
That would be because I didn't give you it, the man said, a grin still on his face. But you needn't worry. Names are like faces. One should be willing to shed them if they no longer serve you.
And with that, he wandered off.
Who is this guy?
Holred asked aloud, echoing what I'm pretty sure the whole platoon was thinking. Whoever he is, I said after a minute, the latrines are working again. Small mercies, am I right? Small mercies. There seemed to be a lot of those over the next 2 days. First the latrine, then the lights in the mess area. Then, inexplicably, all the rations we'd had to use since the food machines went out were swapped out with top-of-the-line rations that were earmarked Presidential Guard. After that, new food machines appeared. Every time something went right, one of those small mercies, he'd be there, a smile on his face as he wiped his hands on his battered trousers and wandered off to the next place. And he spoke with us, always with that kind expression mixed with a tinge of... what exactly? Sadness? Longing?
That word you keep using around me,
he said to me on the evening of his first full day with us.
Resby. What is it?
A term for certain people not on the front lines, sir, I said.
I rather gathered, the man said with a smirk. But what does it mean?
I swallowed. I'd never had a Resby ask what Resby meant before. Rear echelon Shobogan brain, sir.
Oh.
If anything, it seemed to amuse him more.
An acronym. That's very clever.
Thank you, sir, I said. He said nothing more, just chuckled and walked off. Of course, we'd asked Tanso who this guy was, since Tanso seemed to have an idea at least, but he didn't say anything about it. Just told us to shut up and get back to our patrols. After that, we kept our eye on the Resby and talked amongst ourselves. I think, Eri said on the third morning, he's the doctor.
Oh.
Holred was being as diplomatic as ever.
The doctor's a fritzing myth.
No, he's not, Eri said. My uncle was a chancellery guard under Maxwell when the doctor was here. He got shot.
Course he did.
Holred wasn't having it.
And let me guess, he also gave you toys as a time tot and helped save old Flavia from the Battle of Wally's Reach.
He's real, I said quietly. I'd heard stories since I was a time tot, and seen the notices warning about the doctor since the war began. And I'd heard the stories since. The stories of the Doctor of War. The man who was there to save us all. I pushed those stories out of my mind. Question is, what he's doing here? Everyone looked at each other. The Doctor? Even if you didn't believe the man was real, the reputation, the myth, brought with it its own worries. If he was here, what did that mean for whatever the tech geeks behind that vault door were working on? It was when we were knee-deep in these less than pleasant thoughts that Tanso walked up to us. He had a look on his face like the Lord President himself had come to the base, run a finger on every surface, and complained about the dust. As it turned out, it was much worse than that. We've had word, he said to us. The Daleks are dispatching an attack squad this way. Apparently, whatever the boffins are working on, it's now sufficiently interesting to get the enemy's direct attention. A Dalek attack squad. Even with Time Lord weapons and armaments, Dalek attack squads were a tough prospect. Sure, a Staser rifle could crack a Dalek shell with a sustained burst, if you got a sustained burst off. Sure, our heavy ordnance could shatter a Dalekanium shell, if you managed to break their shields first. But one-on-one, a Dalek was easily a match for one of us. Our only hope in most engagements was numbers. And our platoon didn't have numbers. We have any word on their ETA, Sarge? Holred finally asked. Another day and a half if the time portents are right, Tanso replied. Maybe less. A day. I glanced at Eri. She looked stricken. True believer or not, nobody wanted to fight a Dalek attack squad in these circumstances. We got word on reinforcements, Sergeant? I asked Tanso. He shook his head. Ain't getting any, Castron. The platoon is full strength and I'm told that the War Council has no more reinforcements to spare. Bet they're sending another company to bloody Arcadia, Holred muttered under his breath. Stow it, Tanso snapped. This is not a good situation, I get it. But we're gonna do the best we can to hold this position. What about the Resby, Sarge? Eri asked suddenly. Tanso's face took on a different expression, stone cold, guarded. What about him, Eri? Can't he help us? Eri asked. The High Council must have sent him here for a reason. Tanso didn't answer. We all knew what that meant. I want us prepped and ready to take on their assault, he finally said. His expression had hardened. He knew he'd given us a death sentence. We've got this. With that, he walked off, and we all knew. We didn't have this. If he is the Doctor, Eri said to me afterwards, he can help stop the Daleks. If he's the Doctor, I repeated. But who else could he be? Eri asked me. I don't know. I threw my hands up. I felt frustrated, tired, and scared, and truth be told, I had no idea if this guy was the Doctor, some other renegade, or just some lucky Resby Drylander close who was good at fixing odds and ends. I don't know, I said again. Let me find Tanso, he'll know what to do. It was a weak excuse. Tanso wouldn't tell me anything, would he? He already hadn't. We'd asked and he brushed us off. But not this time, I thought. He can't this time. We need something, anything. I found him near a tall blue box at the back of the camp. Standing next to it was the man we thought was the Doctor. He and Tanso were talking. I hid myself behind an ammo crate, hoping they hadn't seen me. They're coming soon, Tanso was saying to him. I know, the man replied. They are sadly predictable. Where there is an advantage to be gained, they will come. We can't hold them, sir. We're not well equipped enough. There's not enough of us here. I know. You've run the calculations. I know. I know the Daleks. I know what they're capable of. I know what they do and what they don't do. I know what you can and can't do against them. I know. Perhaps better than any creature alive. This settled in the air between the man, the Doctor, and Tanso. They know, you know. I'm sorry? The soldiers, my troops. They know you're the Doctor. They're wrong. There was something cold and harsh in the Doctor's tone now. I stopped being the Doctor a long time ago. Tell yourself that, but it's not quite the truth. Tanso took a step towards him. You could pretend all you want, but I know there's part of you what still is the Doctor. The Doctor laughed. Ha! I suppose there would be. You can't spend nearly 1,000 years being something and then lose it all in a moment. Regeneration is the miracle of the Time Lords, but old habits... No, there's the real miracle. I'm not scared to die for Gallifrey, sir. But my troops... I believe in them. They're good people, all of them. Tanso chuckled, if you could call the tired noise he made a chuckle. Even Polred. They don't deserve to die, not here, not like this, not defending... He grimaced. Whatever it is those pencil-neck scientists are doing in there. Danrok's rift. The Doctor's expression was empty. It isn't worth dying for. But then few things are these days. Surely, sir, Tanso said, there must be something you can do. Something, the Doctor repeated. His voice was as hollow as his expression. You're the Doctor, Tanso said. Or you used to be. I've read the stories. There must be something you can do to help us. Must there be? The barest hint of a smile, apologetic and sad, seemed to play on the Doctor's face. And then, his eyes met mine. My heart seemed to freeze for a moment, but the Doctor only kept smiling. Please, sir. Tanso hadn't noticed where the Doctor was looking. If I do stay, the Doctor said, keeping his eyes on me, almost as though he were talking to me now and not Tanso. If I fight the Daleks, if I drive them back, if I defeat them, here, now, what then? He looked back at Tanso now.
They'll return, colder and angrier than ever, knowing that I'm here. Except I won't be, because I can't stay. This war is happening across all time and space. I can't give everything for one single platoon of soldiers. You understand? Sooner or later, I must go. Sooner or later, you will be alone against them.
His eyes darted back to me.
I can't protect you forever.
And so because you can't protect us forever, you'd leave us to die now. Tanso's voice was cold. The doctor shook his head.
I didn't say that.
No, but you thought it. Tanso didn't let up. You can't protect us forever, so you won't protect us today. The doctor glanced back at me again. That same sad smile played upon his face.
I can't protect anyone,
he said, almost too quietly for me to hear now.
The illusion of being able to protect everyone was what killed the doctor. The illusion of believing that saving lives was possible in the middle of the most apocalyptic event to ever occur in Gallifreyan history.
He looked up at the dull dusk sky of this nameless, stupid planet.
We are faced with an apocalypse. I am one man, and I can't save us all. I will be lucky if I can save anyone.
He met Tanso's stare.
That is the cold calculus of war. The calculation I was born to make. Every day, I look out there and I think, is this the moment that will give the greatest advantage against the Daleks? If so, I take it. If not, I withdraw. Thousands have died. Millions. I have met the Daleks and bested them on every field, but still they come. Mayhap there is no end to it.
He let out a long, weary sigh.
And now you ask me to make a stand here for one paltry experiment and one platoon of soldiers.
I ask you to be the doctor, Tanso retorted. To protect these people. Tanso's voice broke in a way I'd never heard before. Please.
I told you,
the man said.
I'm not the doctor.
He turned and went into the blue box. The silence hung empty for a few minutes, and then Tanso sighed and walked off, back towards the stupid door. I crouched there for a moment, horrified. We were all going to die. Not even the Doctor, the mythical hero who'd fought so many nightmares of Time Lord history and legend, was going to fight the Daleks, was going to try and save us. But, I thought, heroes aren't really heroes at all, are they? They're just people. Gastron had been at Skull Moon. He told me about the massacre there, the blood, the screams, and the Doctor of War. Could that quiet man really be the same larger-than-life figure Gastron had told me about? No. Couldn't be.
I hope you weren't looking for better news,
a voice said from next to me. I almost jumped out of my skin then and there. The man, the doctor, whoever he really was sitting next to me. He was smiling, but it was a sad smile. Sorry, sir, I was looking for Sergeant Tanso, I said hurriedly.
You were looking for hope,
the man said quietly.
I know the feeling. I've looked for it many times myself.
There was something in his gaze. Something I'd once been told you only saw in the really old Time Lords, those who'd lived through everything. I wondered for a minute what a man like that might have actually seen. How many of the legends were actually true, as opposed to the stuff that was just nonsense. Well, I said after a moment, can't you... I mean, you told Tanso you couldn't help.
I told Tanso that I can't protect anyone,
he corrected me gently.
And it's true.
His expression hardened.
Much as I might wish to.
But you're the doctor, aren't you? I asked. They used to say you could do anything.
I know what they used to say.
He was quiet.
But I can't be the doctor for you, Castron.
His expression turned wistful.
I used to think I could. When I was younger, all dashing about in a frock coat, saving the day with a smile on my face, thinking that I was invincible.
I had no idea what a frock coat was, but something in his face painted the image of some younger man, dashing, noble, running through deadly dangers.
I fought monsters all across the universe. I used to think that no matter how dark the hour became, there I would be, standing against the tide of evil, screwdriver in hand, like a fairy tale hero come to life.
As he spoke, I could almost picture it. Him somewhere, fighting against evil across 1,000 worlds.
As I got older, I realized I couldn't be that anymore. Not all the time, not successfully. At first, I embraced this. I tried to grow up. Then I rebelled against it, had a midlife crisis.
His tone turned sour.
I dashed around like I used to. Thought I could be the hero again. But no. No, I can't be the hero. The Doctor is a fairy tale. In real life, I'm afraid, there are few such heroes.
I said nothing. I couldn't. There wasn't anything to say that could refute what he was telling me. That he had fought evil, but it had made no difference. And really, how could it? If fairy tale heroes really existed, surely this, all the slaughter of the Time War across the stars and across history, would never have happened. After a moment, he patted me on the shoulder.
Don't despair, Castron. There's always hope. Maybe you'll have better fortune than you think.
Something stirred deep within me. Something primal. Please, I said, almost desperate. Please, we're going to die if you don't help us. He met my eyes, but said nothing. I've heard the stories, I said, the words tumbling out almost like they were coming from somewhere deep in my soul, somewhere childish and sad that wanted the world to be right again. Stories. You're the one who saved Gallifrey so many times. You fought monsters across the universe, you said. Surely there's something, anything, that you can do to help us. I felt like a child now, sitting there in front of this man with impossibly ancient eyes.
You really think I can?
He asked after a moment. I think... I swallowed, my throat suddenly dry. I think if there's anyone, anywhere who can, it's you. He didn't say anything else. After a moment, he turned and walked away. I stayed, sat there on the floor by the ammo crate, wondering if I'd just made an ass of myself in front of one of the most legendary Time Lords in history. Slowly, I got to my feet. I took a deep breath, tried to steady my nerves. He's just one man, I thought. Heroes aren't real, they're just people. He's just a person. He can't save us. I grabbed a few spare clips for Staser rifles, as well as a heavy cannon, and walked slowly back to the rest of the platoon. We still had a battle to prepare for. Airy and Polred met my gaze when I returned. Neither of them asked me what had happened, or if I'd spoken to Tanser. Neither of them needed to, I guess. My face said everything it needed to. The next day or so was tense. Everyone was quiet. Even Polred knew to shut up. We prepped our defenses, set up a rudimentary sky trench, set up turrets, and placed ourselves in the forward ground defense trench. Trenches were the worst of everything. Muddy, stinking things. Primitive as they were in a way the last line of defense. The sky trenches, the chronal stabilizers, the possibility nullifiers, all those things just stopped the time part of the Time War from affecting the boots on the ground. It forced the Daleks into direct ground assault. It was unfortunate, really, that meant they were forced into the one thing that they were best at. The evening after I'd spoken with the Doctor, who was standing in the trench, guns aimed at the approach, waiting. The turrets were turning, watching for the Daleks. The sky trench above the planet was flickering. The Daleks could circumvent one, even if only a handful of attacks in history had ever gotten through one. It was only a matter of time until the Daleks got around the trench and reached us here. There was no sign of the Doctor anywhere. The first sign of them was the flashes in the distance, outer defenses engaging the Daleks first.
Maybe they won't get past the outer defenses,
Polred opined. Don't count on it, Tanso snapped. Keep your eyes peeled. Then we saw them. The first one, then the second. Bronze battle tanks, glowing blue eyes glaring balefully across the battlefield.
Fire!
Tanso yelled. The harsh crack of Staser rifles rang out. One volley, then a second, then a third. One of the Daleks exploded, then a second. They returned fire. Blue lightning streaked out towards us. Keep firing! Were Tanso's last words. A bolt of blue light struck near him. Debris flew, and then Tanso fell. His skin spotted with gold light for a moment, then dulled, whatever wounds he'd taken stopping him from being able to regenerate. I gritted my teeth. Keep shooting! We have to hold! He kept firing. More Daleks exploded. 2 more of us were hit, falling and lying still. Then, with a sudden whoosh of a rush of air, a massive field of energy appeared in front of the advancing Daleks. The first wave of them disappeared into particles of golden energy, disintegrating before they could even react. The second wave were less fortunate, impacting the energy field with screams and sparks before disintegrating as well. The last few Daleks halted. A few shot at the field, either to experiment or because Daleks like shooting things, I don't know. But the beams reflected back at them, destroying the unlucky shooters.
Now's our chance,
came the familiar voice of the Doctor. He was standing behind us now, pointing at the Daleks.
The field is one way. Focus your fire, all of you.
We didn't need telling twice. We all fired. The crack of Staser rifles echoed again and again until the last of the Dalek attack squad was blown to pieces. The Doctor stepped down into the trench. He patted Polred on the shoulder.
Good work, he said. Good work, all of you.
What did you do, sir? Eri asked him.
Oh, just set up a rudimentary dispersion field, the Doctor replied. The same technology used for dispersion executions, just, obviously, a touch larger scale.
Just a touch, yes, I said faintly. You saved us.
We're alive,
Polred laughed aloud. It's a miracle! It's a fritzing miracle!
If it was a miracle,
the Doctor said, a twinkle in his eye,
then it was a vortex battery-powered dispersion field miracle.
And a doctor, I added, with some guts behind him. He inclined his head.
I suppose you could say that. At least for a moment.
He paused.
I suppose one is allowed one day, once in a blue moon, when the Doctor is still around. Somewhere.
With a final nod, he turned around and headed back for the base. Are you staying, sir? I asked.
Oh no,
he said softly.
I've set off some pings in nearby star systems. The Daleks will soon be convinced that I'm a sector away, and I'm usually their highest priority. Danrok's rift should be safe.
So what will you do now, sir? Eri asked. His expression hardened a touch.
Same thing I've done for years now. I will fight the Daleks, wherever they are to be found. I will do my best to win the war.
And then he walked away. Eri and I exchanged a look. There was a mix of sorrow and relief on her face, probably the same look that was on mine. We were alive. We'd survived. Thanks to him. Well, I said after a moment. We'd better get to work with cleanup.
Freights off,
Polred said. I laughed. Eri laughed. The moment passed. Life continued. We didn't see the Doctor again. Not after we were pulled back to garrison duty. Not during the fall of Arcadia when Eri took shrapnel to the side and regenerated and Polred was blown up in a turret. And not after, when we heard that the Doctor had saved us again. But those of us who were there never forgot that moment. And I often thought about that lonely man who wanted to be a hero, but had found himself in the middle of a war instead. He might still be out there now, in whatever incarnation. Maybe he got to wear a frock coat again.